So, and this is when I knew me and Philip were very close friends. Sometime in 1998, well before we made Quadrophenia, Phil come up, he said, Trev, we were in the pub at the time, can I have a word? And I thought, well, what's the matter? Phil, you're serious? Over here, Trev, I need to speak to you. Yeah, what's happened, Phil? He said, I've just been offered this film, Zulu Dawn. I said, right, Peter O'Toole. I said, yeah. He said, they're filming it in South Africa, Trev. I said, what? They're filming it in South Africa. I want to do it, and I know apartheid. And I was like, fuck. He's talking to me, you know, we were kids, mates, we didn't talk about politics, but suddenly Phil was saying, look, I want to do this film, it's in South Africa, I know there's apartheid and Nelson Mandela's in the nick, but would it harm our relationship? And I said, well, of course it wouldn't. In fact, I was chuffed that you even think that you want to speak to me about this. I mean, it was out of this world. Anyway, he goes off to do this film in South Africa. Peter O'Toole, legendary actor, we've all heard of Peter O'Toole, God rest his soul. Bit of an eccentric chap, shall we say. Peter O'Toole was playing the lead in Zulu Dawn, and he says to the production company, Phil told me all this, he said to the production company, I want my dog to come with me. My dog is my companion, goes with me everywhere. Pardon? My dog must come with me. No, but there was before we had dog passports in them days, you know, because your dog can't go to South Africa. Well, I'm not doing the film. My dog goes where I go. So they thought about it, the production company, I know what we'll do. We'll put the dog in the film. So the general has got a dog. Oh, brilliant. Then the dog's got to be there with him because it's his dog in the film. Great. Anyway, a couple of weeks into filming, the Zulu extras found out the dog was being paid more wages than they were. That's a true story. So they went on strike, the Zulu extras, and Phil, Bob Hoskins, and Denham Elliott, another great old actor, went out on strike with the Zulus and went down into the village to live with them, the three of them, you know, in support. And as it turned out, they then uplifted the Zulu extras' wages, and you know, it was all sorted. Anyway, the reason I tell that is because Phil came back to England. Now, bear in mind, we like this album, I've told you we listened to The Who, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, this is all going on, and Phil's in South Africa, they're trying to find a boy to play in the main part in Quadrophenia, and he's not here. They saw pop star, well, Roger was not allowed to do it, he's too young. So then they saw Adam Ants, your money or your bike, you know, whatever. Yeah. You know, they saw Johnny Rotten. John was seen for it, Toya read Steph, and you know, they saw him for it, and he did a few intros with Toya, and then, as you do when you do an audition, Frank and Pete Townsend were there, said, right, Johnny, take a seat. So, what do you think of the character, Jimmy? I mean, what is it? He said, well, I'll tell you what I do think. I said, I don't want to be a part of anything to do with Pete Townsend's wet dream. His exact words, or thereabouts, wet dream came into it. So Frank thought to himself, maybe we need to get a young actor who's going to immerse himself in the part rather than a pop star. So, papers, who's going to play the part in Quadrophenia? Who looking for the boy to be the star of their latest films in Africa? I'm thinking, bloody hell, Daniels. Anyway, he comes back, and I see him. He lived at King's Cross, I lived in Essex Road. He's come back and he looks ill. His face was grey, and I remember it to this day with like a tinge of sort of greenness. And he said, look at my tongue. He had this weird split in the middle of it. He'd caught it when he was down in the Zulu village, you see, you know, on strike with the extras. So he said, I've got an audition for the film coming up. I said, bloody hell, well, good luck with that. He said, I know. He said, do you want to come with me, do a bit of improv? I said, like, you know, you're my mate, you know. So I went up there with him, and I was sitting outside because they were interviewing him first. And then I heard him sort of, no, bloody no. Next thing, they've shown him out. I said, what's happened? He goes, they said I'm too ill. They said they won't see me because I look so sick, right? But Frank Rodham has since said to me, so much was his passion, so much was the fact that he wanted to do, we thought, and we couldn't find anyone else, we thought about a week later when he was better, they decided to see him again. And he said, you're coming down. Now my brother, who came from Jamaica when he was 14, I was 5, that's when I met him, right? He used to have a mate when I was a kid called Errol. Great tonic suit, and every time I heard the scooter, this guy was what we used to call half-caste, then we used to call mixed race, and now we call mixed heritage, you know, right? And he used to come, Errol, to see my brother. He'd come in, and I'd run up, I was about 7, 8, and he'd go, whoa, 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 watch the cloth, Marth. That was what I knew about mods.
Yeah.
Now it so happened we had, you know, experimented with 1 or 2 chemicals, so we knew something about the uppers and downers side of things also. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? All I can do is play like out of it and whoa, 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 watch the cloth, Marth, and be into me suit and all that. Frank Rodham said to me when we were doing the improv, Pete Townsend leaned over him and said, that kid, he reminds me of the guy in Winston who used to get our pills off in the old days. So Frank said, really? We'll put him in the film. True story. Right, so that's how they wrote the part of Ferdy in. We were doing, just to continue on the little serious note, we were doing an appearance, I mean, we're all experienced mods here, in Cannock. A couple of months ago we did an appearance, a Q&A. And afterwards a guy came up to me and said, oh thank God you said what you said. Please, wherever you go, tell them this, because my kids come up to me and they say to me, why are you watching that film? It's racist. Look at what they do in that film. It's racist. You shouldn't be watching Quadrophenia. And what had I said? Frank Rodham came up to me and he said, Trev, this is what English society was like in 1964. We want to show it for real what it was like. Do you mind? He asked my opinion. I'm a 20-year-old kid just not long out of drama school. And I said, yeah, of course. I mean, I was born in 1957 in Islington. When I was 4 or 5, before I went to school, I'd go with my mum, my little brother in the pram, up the Chapel Market, which is a market in Islington. And my mum, as is the Jamaican habit, would want to feel the fruit to make sure it's right. Take your fucking black hands off that, was what she'd get. So I knew, that was early 60s, that, you know, so I said, sure, the truth is the truth. The truth will purify us all, as they say. So yeah, but a lot of people now, things have changed, and people look at it and think, I mean, they shouldn't be saying that. But the truth, as we all know, I'm sure, is what that's about in the film when he says, oh, Ferdy will turn up like a jack in the box, or a gollywog. You know, it's just how people spoke in 1964 perhaps. So that's what I said, and he said, always repeat that so that the kids know that it's not a racist film, which I don't. I think it's anything but. Frank Rodham's a socialist, you know, without a doubt. I'm not getting into politics. Anyway.
Well, like I said to you earlier on, we were second in the back, sorry. No, when we were talking about the mod culture, and I was saying my mum was one of the very first mods from down in Soho, and they used to go down to Flamingo Club, it was called.
Oh, yeah.
They go down to Flamingo, and there was the 2 types of music. There was traditional jazz and modern jazz. They got the name mod from the word modern jazz. There was a shortage of it. The music they were listening to was modern jazz, Miles Davis, people like that. That music was being brought in by the American GIs, you know, little singles. They were giving them to the club. So black music at that point was very underground. The BBC wouldn't play it. They wouldn't play it in America either because they had their own radio stations. That's why Jamaican reggae made it in England later on, because it was taboo here. They wouldn't listen to it. So actually the mod culture, you're talking about the racism of the time, the first embrace really of 2 cultures was that culture. It was listening to black music, it was white kids from Islington and where my mum grew up in Wickham and North London and all that. They were going listening to that music, so it was a total opposite to racism actually, wasn't it?
Well, I think so. You know, but you know, you grow up. I mean, I never felt part of anything because I didn't realise till recently. I mean, I was a soul boy. but I wasn't a very good dancer, so that didn't really work that well. Yeah, but you know, I'd stand. But then I found a nice little niche. I stand at the bar talking to the girls while the chaps are spinning around and doing headstands and all that to cool in the gang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so but. Those guys were very athletic, and I was a bit heavy, and I played a bit of football, and I never realised that why not the same as them? Because a lot of those guys were born in the Caribbean and came over when they were kids. I was born in London, so there's a difference there. Do you know what I mean? And then, you know, but as I was saying to Simon earlier on, I started feeling part of something around 75, 76, you know, when suddenly punks, people with weird coloured hair and that would come up to me, oh man, we love reggae, fucking hell, oh, hey brother, you know, and so on. And I thought, hey, this is all right. I mean, I wasn't a punk rocker, I like music, but you know, I didn't like people throwing beer all over me in the club and so on, but you know, and certainly those guys made you feel more at home. We were just talking earlier on, weren't we?
Yeah.
What a big year 78 was. We started this picture in the July that year, but in Victoria Park in the April of that year, there was the most massive Rock Against Racism gig I've ever seen in my life. The whole park, if you know Victoria Park in Hackney, was
40,000 people there or something.
yeah, packed. The Clash were playing, so many great bands. The Steel Pulse, you know, X-Ray Specs, fantastic. You know what I mean? What a great day it was. That was April. So I was really up high, and the next thing I know, I'm in Quadrophenia as well.
Wow.
So, you know, it was a great time for me.
So how was that as like, being an actor, were you obviously typecast as the black kid always, or did they sort of let you play sort of general roles as well? Because I know when I did acting, I was always like the skinhead, the thug, the football hooligan, and that. I mean, I've got lots of work. Not on your level, but, you know, yeah.
In those days, I used to play troubled black kids. You know, I did a big play that got me noticed about a year before Quadrophenia Royal called The School Leaver.
Right.
About a bully who ran the school, who leaves school and realises what the real world's like when he hasn't got a job, and you know. So that was a play I did for my first play in London. Actually, we're coming back. I started up in Bolton Octagon, because you had to go away to do rep to get your equity card in the
That's it. 40 hours or so.
Yeah, 40
hours.
40 weeks or something. 40 weeks. Of,
it was something like that.
So I was the acting ASM. I had to played small parts in plays and swept the stage and put the profs out beforehand and so on. Eventually got the equity card, you know, and then I was an actor, come back, did a tour, and then ended up doing that play in London, you know, and then a few more bits of telly, and then Quadrophenia.
Right, yeah.
You know. All in the first few years.
How did that change you as your life and as an actor, or what was there a massive change in your life after that?
After Quad?
Yeah.
Well, bizarrely enough, I went off and started a theatre company then with some friends of mine called the Black Theatre Cooperative. We'd done Quadrophenia, end of 78. Then we started this play it all dovetailed, and we got a bit well known for this play, and then ended up, Quadrophenia came out in November, and I'd just finished another film, which bizarrely enough is very heavily connected with Quadrophenia, called Babylon, which is another film I did, which they often call the Black Quadrophenia, because about black kids and sound systems and so on.
Right.
You know, and it was written by Martin Stellman, and I never realised till we did the DVD for Babylon how that came about. Martin was trying, and Franco Rosso, the director, were trying to sell the script of Babylon. They went to all the different companies, and they went round to Roy Baird Films, who was the company that made Quadrophenia, and handed it in, and they called him in and said, look, we don't think we can do much with this, you know, film about black kids, but listen, we love your dialogue. Now look, we've got this film we're going to be doing called Quadrophenia. We've had a bloke who's followed what Pete Townsend said and written the story out, but the dialogue is flat. Will you do a draft of it with the good dialogue?
Yeah.
So Martin did the final draft of Quadrophenia, and that's when I met him on the set of Quadrophenia. And I suppose the famous and most bad thing, you might say, that people think that happened on that film is when I wasn't allowed to be in a scene because I wasn't allowed to be seen you know, having anything to do with white girls,
Right.
which is a big thing. I won't even go into it because it's, you know, I don't fancy it today. But anyway, bizarrely enough, you know, when John Peverell, the associate director, who the following year won an Oscar for The Deer Hunter, funny enough, come down and said, Trevor, here's a bottle of champagne. And we had a crate of champagne because Kitchener Party, Kitchener Road, we all know that one, right?
Yeah.
There's the bit where everyone's snogging the girls after the party, right? What they would do in those days is they'd get the girls after breakfast to ply them up with champagne to loosen them up for those snogging scenes and whatever.
Yeah.
But they took one of the bottles of champagne and said, Trev, go and sit in the dressing room, you're not allowed to be in the scene. John Peverell come down from the office. I said, what? Frank came in, John! I said, I'd speak to Trevor. How dare you speak to my actors, because Frank looked after him. Sorry, Trev. Listen, this film is going to be sold. It will be shown in the deep south in America, maybe South Africa. We can't have any hint of you as the black kid having anything to do with white girls in this film. Go and sit in the dressing, go and sit there. You can't be in the scene. Anyway, Sting, he was 27, a school teacher from Newcastle, and started a band at the time. I can't remember what they're called now, but he came and sat with me. Now, he's still, I was in New York doing a play done a few years ago, and he hung out with him a lot, and I've seen him. He was still sort of pals, and his wife Trudy's just a diamond. But he sat with me. He said, you know, he put an arm around me, and he was really, because I was near to tears and all that.
Right.
You know, and he was really good with me, you know, and everything. And he went, you know, because I think, just another film thing, as you all know, Simon. The studio, which was Lee International Studios in Wembley, where we shot that. There's Shepperton, there's Pinewood. You've heard of all the film studios. Film studios is where you shoot all the interiors. So the courtroom scene, where Sting's nicked after this and he goes in court, do you want to check?
Yeah.
That shot in the studio in London. There's all the interiors, the interior of the party. There's, you know, everything is done in the studio. The exteriors, you know, so it looks like it. But so he was waiting that day because they were going to be shooting the courtroom scene as well later on. So that's why he was there. We used to share a car home in Sting. He lived in Bayswater, I lived in Essex Road. The car from Wembley would take us home. I was sat in the car with him one day going home. And suddenly, we're sat in the back, on the radio, come up, can't stand losing you. But he went, oh my God, turn it up. Trev, that's my band, Trev, that's my band, turn it up. Well, 6 months later, you couldn't turn the bloody radio on without hearing it. And then bloody white reggae, but you know, Regatta de Blanc. Which only recently I realised was French for white reggae. They were their first album. So anyway, you know, he looked after me, and then Martin came up to me later on and he said, sorry about that, Trev, because he's always there as the writer. Listen, I've got this other script I want you to have a look at. I said, yeah. He gave me the script of Babylon then. And it so happened he lived in Liverpool Road in Islington, so I'd see a lot of it. A year later we made that movie, and that is kind of a cult film itself. So it's funny how life goes and things turn around, kids. That's how it is. You know, I've got to look at my cards. Go on, son.
Here you are, bloody, how many years later talking about it, eh? Who would have thought that you'd be here for personal appearances and stuff when you're a teenage kid getting a job, innit?
Bizarre.
How did it feel? Because with me, the first time I ever saw myself on screen, I did a thing called Dear John, which was a sort of BBC comedy, and they used to they do it like a live showing in front of a live audience, and I was invited to go down there, and the guy who wrote it was the guy who wrote Only Fools and Horses and all that, you know, John Sullivan, yeah. So we go down there, and I'm sitting there with my mum, my girlfriend, my mate's girlfriend's mum, and all that, all like sitting there, and I came on this screen. And all of a sudden, there's this fucking Council Estate Skinhead bloke on the screen on a major BBC thing, and it was just so sort of surreal. Of like, it took you out of. So how did you feel when that happened for you? Like, was Quadrophenia the big one, or did you have anything before that gave you that?
Well, it was the first major film. I'd done a small film before that, and a couple of tellies and a couple of plays, basically.
Yeah. So I remember, just quickly, like with Madness, they were telling me that I said to them, when did you know you were like getting successful? Was it like when you go on Top of the Pops? They said, no, what it was is when we looked out to the audience, there's all these people dancing and singing back to them and they didn't know any of them. It wasn't their mates anymore, you know? So there's that moment in there when all of a sudden it becomes, wow, this is going to be different.
You've spread out of your neighbourhood.
Yeah.
No, because we're the same neighbourhood as Madness, so certainly Suggsy and that. So we used to see them all around before they cracked on. But you know, it's interesting because, well, a sad thing, we were celebrating for 3 weeks before the film started, me and Daniel, before we started preparations, the dance lessons, the scooter riding lessons, etc. You know, they made us go around to a mate of I should get nicked for this really. Made us go around to a mate of Pete Townsend's and they gave us pills.
Really?
Sting was standing at the top of the stairs at one point. Going, I can fly. I'm going to fly. No, Sting, don't jump, don't jump. I don't think he ever did it again after that. But no, I shared a flat with a guy who was a director at the Royal Court at the time, because I'd done a few plays there in London. And he had a spare room, and I moved into the flat in Essex Road, just off Canterbury Road, which is near Essex Road Station, if anyone knows that. And Phil was still at home with his mum and dad at King's Cross. So we were celebrating, we'd got Quadrophenia, we were out, yeah, we're going to be in Quadrophenia, we're talking. And so he'd sometimes sleep at my house, right? And one day, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, about 2 weeks to go before we start. And we're getting up in the morning, we're going to go up the cafe for breakfast or whatever. And I turned the radio on. We regret to inform that Keith Moon, drummer of the famed band The Who, has died. Fuck! Apart from Pete Townsend, we only wanted to meet Keith Moon.
Yeah, right.
He's dead. Shit. You know what I mean? Literally 2 weeks before.
I didn't realise how he was so close to the film.
Yeah.
Mate, is that? Yeah.
So, and Phil's worry was they would cancel the film, but they didn't. You know, and it was a crazy one. You know, Mooney, we wanted to meet him.
Yeah, he was the man.
You know what I mean? Mad one. Frank said, when they first gave Frank the picture, and he's a young director, 31, just coming up, Keith Moon turned up at the office and said, right, when do we start? Well, I'll be directing the film with you. He said, what do you mean? Well, you're directing Quadrophenia, I'll be directing it with you. Simple English. You know, something there, moonlight, I don't know, just my imagination of what he was like.
Yeah.
And Frank said, I had to think on my toes because Keith Moon was one of them, he was in his face.
Yeah.
He said, okay then, Keith, well, when do you guys go on tour? We're not on tour for another 4 or 5 months, we can get the film done. You might have to do some of the work of editing, but, well, no, that's not why I'm asking. Because when we finish the film, I'd like to come on tour with you as your percussionist. To which Keith said, very good, you'll do, get on with it, you know, and off he went, you know. So, you know, he told me that story as well. So that's another one. So we also, as I said, I've already told you about the day we met. We all turned up, and first time they put us all together in a room, they wanted to see the chemistry, and it was crazy. Gary Shell backflipped into the room, you know, because he did that sort of thing, you know. And Sting was already, he thought he was Dan Day-Lewis even then, you know, came in. He was the ace face. You know, and me and Phil stood at the back, a bit hungover. Fucking hell. This shower. It was alright for him because he's Jimmy, you know what I mean? So everyone had to sort of, you know, it's Jimmy. But me, I'm like, bloody hell, what's going on? You know, all these lunatics, you know, and called just Leslie and Toya, sort of jumping around the place, being a menace to everyone, you know. Anyway, we all went off from there and to prepare, you know, learn to dance, you know. Yes. Sting had hours of dance lessons.
For his one scene of dancing.
And we had the scooter lessons, and then we had all stuff like that, you know. There was, you know, as I say, we went up to Pete Townsend's mate's house so that we would know what it was like to be high, etc. And we kicked off here in Brighton. And the rest, as they say, is 46 years ago.
So has anybody got any questions for our man?
Any questions at all? I don't guarantee to tell the truth, but it will be interesting. Mate, I haven't even got,
much are they
I haven't even
nowadays?
got any hair. I haven't even got any hair under this hat. Man.
What kind of music are you into
Now,
now, and like how's that developed for you?
well, I'm going to be honest. I mean, I suppose I'm an original mod in a way because I love jazz. Charles Mingus, you know, and Miles Davis. But Mingus is my man right now. As growing up, I was more into Miles Davis because he looked so good in those suits and that beautiful melancholy trumpet of his, you know. But you know, I'm into Mingus at the moment because he's a lunatic and a genius, you know.
And his name's Mingus.
And his name's Charles Mingus. And he played, I'll tell you, you could start listening to all Charles Mingus's recorded music and it would probably take you a year. He just made music. I mean, probably not interesting, but I'm going to tell you anyway. But I love jazz. But I love reggae as well. I think I like all music. I like Beethoven, some of it. Some people say he's the original jazz musician, Beethoven. Yeah, because he was a virtuoso piano player. He did a lot of improvising, you know. So, you know, I like a lot of music. You know, not so much the Regatta de Blanc, but...
This lady over there.
Hello, man.
Trev, I've come to say hello from Scott.
He comes. Oh, yeah.
He
I
said
suppose.
I've got to give you a hug.
Yeah, well, wait till I come on stage.
Oh, all right. I put my Nora back. He's on
No,
there.
we'll have a proper good hug when I come. I don't want to do it in front of this lot.
We won't put that on film now.
No, Scotty, my great mate Scott from Chesterfield, who just broke his leg.
Yeah.
I told you, yeah, he broke his leg.
I broke it.
Yeah, he's my great friend. He's a, yeah.
So what are you up to now then, Trevor? You still acting? Or
Yes,
what?
well, funny enough, I was doing a scene with Hugh Jackman last week in a new film. You know, it's nice to do bits and pieces because you're only there for a week and they pay you a lot.
Yeah,
if you get 4 or 5 of them in, it's like doing a whole film. So I was doing a thing with Hugh Jackman, like, well, it was a week before a thing called 3 Bags Full. He plays a shepherd. So look, I won't even go into the story, it's so mad. But, you know, a crime fighting shepherd.
Is that from sort of a cinema release or TV?
Yes, it's made by, I think it's Apple TV, I think, or no, it's Netflix, because we're at Shepperton, I think it's never. And it's going to come out, well, it's long, so whether it comes out in the cinema, I don't know, or it might be a 2-parter.
Well, what they're doing now, haven't you noticed with Netflix, they're stretching a film out over 6 episodes.
That's right.
Whereas before it used to be like an hour and a half, 2-hour film, now it's 6 episodes of an hour long.
Mate.
So that's why they've become a little bit...
I mean, one scene of it took me a week to read the whole bloody script.
I bet, yeah.
You like to read it all, so when you turn up, the director says, "So Trevor, you know," it's like, "Oh yeah, I know, yeah, of course I've read it, yeah." But it took me a week to read it, so long. But no, so that I was doing that. I did another little film down in Portsmouth, in his name about a funeral, which I play the widow's brother, and it ends up in a fight, gets a bit racial.
Yeah.
And
how do you feel about this whole modern thing? You know, like because you were talking about. Sorry, to talk about the racist sort of stuff, but you know, they said about like quadrophenia being a racist thing. How do you feel now? It's almost like on the complete other way round, you know. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but people are getting picked purely for, oh, you've got to fit that bracket, you've got to be that one. And whereas I think when we were young. Yeah, there was always an element of that. You were the black kid, I was the white teenage hooligan, and me and you would be put in an opposing gang. So it's always sort of gone on. But how do you feel it's gone? Do you think that's a positive thing, or do you think that it's like a pendulum that's gone a bit too far? Or?
well, I think, you know, I'm nearly 67 years old, but you know, so maybe I haven't got that long to go. But they do say old actors never die; they just fade away. But I think that I've got to get used to the new way, because the tradition I come out of, and Quadrophenia is part of this, although as a black kid from the other, is rebellious.
Yeah.
We were rebellious young people, rebelling against the status quo.
Well, it weren't the job, was it?
Yeah.
You know, being an actor weren't the job.
Yeah, we were what we did artistically in films and even in the stage, and so on. And then we grew up a bit, but we were still, you know, now. I think and I speak to some of the young actors about this. I was doing a play in Chichester up the road here last year, and come to young actors, and I was trying to tell them what we used to do, you know. And and I say this to them because now it seems that you're required to fit in.
Yeah.
So therefore, yeah, we'll give you a couple. I mean, I've worked over there in America a little bit, and it's a similar thing. Except obviously you'll get sued over there.
Yeah.
If there's no black people in it, right? Will sue you for racism, you know, because they're Americans. That's what they do. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think that you've got to keep up with the modern mind. If it's honest, and that's where it is, and we are integrated, and it really is true.
I just think that when I
let's
worked,
go with it. It's
when
honest, better.
I worked with Alan Clark years ago.
Oh,
We were talking about
yeah,
Alan Clark,
well,
weren't we? And I was in a thing called The Firm,
Oh, yeah.
and they basically pulled us all in. There was Gary Allman,
Allman,
Phil
yeah,
Davis. You know.
Davis.
I was in Phil Davis's gang, you know.
Yeah.
And basically, what Alan Clark did is he separated us all out. So there'd be like the Millwall gang, the West Ham gang,
That's
the
right.
Birmingham gang, and we didn't realise he was doing this at the time, but he was completely separating us and getting us to be like the opposing gang. And there was one scene,
That's right.
we were at the Tower Hotel, and we were doing this scene, and Gary Allman's going, I'll see you on fucking Wednesday, I'll see you on next Tuesday, I'll have you next week, you know, this type of thing.
Yeah.
Like. And they're doing this scene over and over again, and we're all literally standing on each other's toes. We've got big lights like this in this tiny little room. And after about 6 hours of this, the West Ham lot start leaving, like Gary Allman's mob,
Yeah.
and they started coating our lot off, and somebody, in fact, I can't remember his name, but he became Jim in Coronation Street, Northern Irish guy.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do you know?
I know who he
Yeah,
is.
he just fucking launched a fist over, and the whole place just went up in the air. It just got trashed, windows, you know, the pictures off the wall, the table smashed. And I remember there was this father actor who was one of Gary Allman's mob, one of the lead actors, and I had him up by the throat against the wall. And I thought, shit, I'm fucking sacked in. I looked round and I saw Alan Clark. He used to have his hand like that. Hey, film it.
That's what Clarky wants.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Clarky
He
wants.
got that reality. We were fucking hardcore, and that's what I think the difference.
That's what he did in Scum.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
Clark,
Yeah.
He got everyone at it, so
Yeah.
we could film Murderball. So
Yeah.
you could get everyone, because that's what he wanted, that
Yeah,
energy.
yeah, it was real, wasn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
it was real.
Yeah.
That's what he was about, Alan. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely, but maybe not so much now. I mean, I don't know if you get that sort of thing in Bridgerton.
Yeah. I broken toes. Yeah.
I might be wrong. You know, but yeah, so basically, I think, you know, and that's funny. I was up with Phil because Phil's living out in a beautiful village up in South Yorkshire, not far. It's called Thorpe Hesley.
Don't tell this.
Oh, sorry. He'll kill me tomorrow. He'll probably tell you himself. You know what I mean? But I was up with him last weekend, and we were talking about this. You know, saying, you know, is our day finished? Because you keep yourself fresh. You think, well, my time will come. I look after my body.
Yeah.
I eat well. I read. I don't get. Well, I'm going to get. You know, something will come. A great old actor called Paul Rogers. He's famous Shakespearean actor. We did a TV series once, and he couldn't remember a line to save his life. He was so old. But what he did, he invented it that his character had a book. He played a trade union leader. He had a little red book, and he'd write all his lines in the book. So every now and again, he'd pull the book out. You know, and before it was a comedy, and so before this studio audience would come, he'd walk round the set with bits of sellotape, sticking his lines up all over the set. I said to him one day, I said, Paul, the lengths you will go to remember, you know, I said, darling, he said, I can't remember a bloody line, he said. One thing I can tell you, Trev, he said, you know, take this from an old one. He said, right, you know, the secret of being a successful actor is you've got to hang on in there. Because one day your time will come. I always remember that, him saying, I was quite young, it was in the early 80s. So you hang on in there, you work hard, you do your exercises, particularly as we work on stage, you have to keep your voice, you know, so you do a lot of yoga and all that caper that they make you do. I work a lot at National Theatre. And, you know, you do your voice warm-up, you do your stuff, and you keep going. And you come to a point like now, you just said that, where you start thinking, as me and Phil were saying last week, I don't know if I can be bothered anymore. It becomes a mental thing.
Yeah.
Physically, you're still there. But, you know, we still want to destroy the world. We're still those kids who want to bring down the bloody, you know, the oppressors and, you know, smash Rees-Mogg's face in and whatever, you know?
Yeah.
You know, whereas now they just want you to join in and be a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got you. How about Brighton? how opinions of mods have changed, I've written down here. In 1964, they treated the mods like dirt in Brighton, didn't they? Didn't they? Oh, so we read. Even in 1978, when we made the film, people weren't happy. They were getting paid a lot of money to shut off the line so we could do all that. But now, Daniels is here a couple of months ago with the mayoress.
Yeah.
You know,
You're an official part of Brighton tourism now.
doing the whole thing. The Quadrophenia Alley is actually properly called that now.
Yeah, we used to call it Jimmy's Alley. Yeah.
It's that they've done a thing. They took him when they said they took me on a tour show. Below the town hall is all the cells where they kept the mods up, and after those they took him round and showed him all.
Brilliant.
You know, they treated him like Prince Charles or King Charles. You know, and he's walking around. Really, so this cell was where so and so stayed. You know, now in Brighton, mods, Quadrophenia, you guys are very, very important to the bottom line. As we know. So that's what it's about, yeah. They see, that's another one. That's what I mean. Sometimes you get confused. We are the mods, we are the mods, we are the mods. Was invented specially for the film. It never. We did a best dressed mod competition. Phil was judging it up in up the north in Runcorn. And you know, what did I say? The Widnes Scooter Club. Wonderful guys.
Yeah.
So it was the best dressed mod competition, and I said to Daniels, Phil, you've got to give it to that old couple. There was a lovely, senior couple to us even, who were really bucker dressed. So he gave them new, and the first thing the guy said when he came over to get his award was, mods didn't sing We Are the Mods in 1960. I was there. They didn't do that. Mods didn't sing football chants. We don't sing football chants. We're cool. But when Frank said, look, we've got to have more lads, you're walking down the front, we need something. Yeah. We need something. So suddenly this chant erupted, and that bit of the film's got a bit of life to it because of that, but it didn't really happen. It didn't actually happen. That's the point. So anyway, so now what I've got here, that close up. Oh. I noticed that Frank Rodham, who's a documentary man, when we were here in Brighton, it started straight away, would say to Brian Tofano, and the camera operator, every now and again, well, after cut was called, we'd finish the scene, he'd go up and say, keep filming, just see what you can pick up. Don't tell the lads you're filming. Just see if we can pick some natural stuff up, documentary style. So I noticed this, he was doing that all the time. And at one part of the riot scene, right, I'm across the road, and I see Frank go up to Brian and say, Brian, and he had that look on his face, I thought, aha, he's going to do it. This is an opportunity for me to nick a close-up, which is what I do. I turn round, and I was to say, what is all this about, and all that, right? And Frank, next day, said, Trev, we looked at the rushes last night. There's a shot of you. Oh, that's the most fantastic. We're going to use it as the end of the riot scene. And I thought, yeah, I should have been doing that all the way along. But I didn't. But I got that shot, which is a lot of people's favourite shot. Even Daniel says it's his favourite shot. You know what I mean? And if you come along tomorrow, we're up at the Old Stein, me and young James. There will be still photos of that shot hanging about. I'll say no more. But those are great times we've had. What's that, Derby? Kitchener Road, party at Kitchener Road.